Hi, everybody. It's Adele Frizzell, and I'm here today with.
Tiffany Buck.
We have a long one for you today.
Yes.
It's one we've been preparing for days, but you could actually say an entire year for. So thank you for coming today. If you can't watch this whole thing, because I imagine it's going to go a while, please come back and finish watching it.
I'm just
And
over here cracking up about the comment of it's been an entire year in the works.
yeah,
Yeah.
I want to thank Joan too for getting together this data and this presentation, and all the clients who participated in our research over the years. I mean, we owe a debt of gratitude to you for, I think, advancing science, because what started this research was a desire to understand how a rapid weight loss, like a very low calorie diet, could impact muscle mass on people. Because as a lifter and somebody and a health coach, I was very concerned about the possibility of losing muscle mass on a very low calorie diet. And I'm delighted to share those results with you.
Well,
soon.
and I want to say that, as someone who did not come from an HCG background, and now I'm working with you in this program and coaching this program, there was definitely some concern on my end as well, because you always hear rapid fat loss, rapid weight loss, it doesn't work, and why it doesn't work, but you never really hear about the positives of it. So really getting to work with you and work with clients and seeing that data was very, very eye-opening. And it helped me realize, you know what, maybe there's not just one right approach to how this should happen and should work. So it's fantastic to see that data. And again, thank you to everyone who has provided that data for us, because it's pretty empowering.
It is. Oh gosh, my head is reeling because I could talk all day about this topic, and I'm passionate about it. We would not be coaching people in rapid weight loss if we felt it was unsafe or caused harm.
Yes.
And I needed the data to get the confidence, because there's a lot of there's a lot of BS around this whole topic. And I'm very data driven, and so is Tiffany, and we needed to prove it. Is this true? Is this not? How much of this is BS? What are the claims? And the data, thanks to our clients, really has taught us a lot. And we've gone down some rabbit holes here too with the data. Things came up we never were planning on tracking in the beginning, but we were tracking just to help our clients get the best possible results. And then we realized, well, that's interesting that happened. Let's compare that with the other people. Oh my gosh, this is super interesting. So we are going to share that in today's presentation. It's all about rapid weight loss beyond the hype.
Okay. I do want to take just a minute while you're getting that set up and say hello to Patty and to Gail. They are both on. Guys, please let us know if you have any questions at all during this presentation. We'll try to answer them to the best of our ability. If we cannot answer them during the presentation, because we have a lot of information to go over, we are going to be monitoring those comments, and we will give you a direct answer either during the live or after the live has ended.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you. And this will be available as a replay in the Facebook group, and we will be posting it on YouTube after for people who can't make the call, are in different time zones, working, etc. Okay, let me just share my presentation here. Okay, rapid weight loss beyond the hype. That is the topic today. Let's begin at the beginning. What started all this research? You might have heard from friends, family members, when they were concerned that you wanted to do a very low calorie diet or the HCG diet. And some of the concerns are, it's legitimate that people have concerns, but how legitimate is the claim?
Concern itself, yes.
The concern itself. Exactly. So here are some of them. You're going to be hungry. It's going to lead to binging. It will damage your metabolism. Oh gosh, we've heard this from health professionals and as well. You're going to lose tons of muscle. I've heard that from coaches. You will not build any new healthy habits, and results are not going to last. Weight regain is inevitable when you do a very low calorie crash diet. Have you heard any of these? Let us know
All
in the
of them.
comments. You have? Yeah.
All of them.
All of them.
Yeah.
I'm curious, anyone listening to this, if you've heard any of these or you've heard something different, please share it in the comments. All right, let's address the first myth. You're going to be hungry on a low-calorie diet. Actually, a high-protein, very low-calorie diet can decrease appetite and cravings, we find in most people, but not all.
Yeah.
Some of our clients have participated in the research we've been conducting. Not all of our clients. Not everyone volunteers to submit their data to us. But for the last few years, we've been collecting data on the effects of a very low-calorie diet on things like hunger, muscle mass, energy, sleep quality, and things like that. And so in this presentation, we'll go into the data we've collected from 3 different transformer groups in 2022.
And I think that it's important here to note with the hunger, it's all about food choice overall. High protein, yes, high volume, tons of veggies. And that's really beneficial to keeping that hunger under control. Adele and I were chatting earlier about my veggies for breakfast this morning and how they filled a huge Costco breakfast bowl. It was a ton of vegetables, and I'm still full from that.
Yeah, I mean, a low-calorie diet can still have quite a bit of volume to it and be quite filling. Another one is that rapid weight loss will lead to binge eating. I can't see research to back this claim up. If you know of some, pop it in the comments. I'm happy to have my opinion changed, but I will share with you our experience working with clients for the last few years. That said, a person with a diagnosed binge eating disorder should not do a restrictive diet without support from a qualified therapist who specializes in eating disorders. And I just want to make a point. A qualified and trained therapist specializing in this area. I was telling Tiffany, I got contacted by a company through LinkedIn that wanted to sell me their certification program in helping people with binge eating disorder. I felt it was wrong for them to be promoting that. They talked about how I could increase my revenue by so many dollars a year if I did this, because it's a really hot area for people in social media. And I wouldn't do it. It doesn't seem like something that anyone should be doing. You should be going to university for this. You should be a psychologist or a registered dietitian who is trained in this area. So I couldn't, with good conscience, just take a little course online and now bill myself as a binge eating therapist or a specialist. It'd just be wrong. But anyway, be careful out there, my friends. Okay,
yeah,
so
double check.
Rapid weight loss will destroy your health and metabolism. We've actually seen several improvements in health markers for clients in as little as 8 to 12 weeks. Buckets and buckets of this, like a reduction or elimination of joint pain. People are like, I can go up the stairs now without pain. Knee pain is gone, things like that. A reduction in lipids, a reduction or elimination of sleep apnea. Improvements in blood sugar. People have gone from pre-diabetic to not even being pre-diabetic. Improved quality of life, energy to actually move more, and a desire to move more and exercise because they're not carrying around so much weight. It's not such a burden on them, draining their energy. Psychological improvements, a sense of self-efficacy and control over their life. We've seen medication reduction or elimination. Health, remember, is also psychological. So people have reported feeling happier. Their quality of life has improved. They have a desire to socialize more, play more, pick up new hobbies, not hide from the camera or hide from friends and family and social events. They may start dating again. They might get in a new relationship. They have renewed hope. These are benefits to a person's health.
Yeah. 100%. And I think that it's important to note here, not necessarily important, but I think that it's good for the viewers out there to hear. We've actually had clients send in their lab work just to show us like where their labs were pre-program and at the end of the program. And the difference for some of these clients is the difference between being diabetic or not being diabetic, being pre-diabetic and being out of that category altogether. So it's pretty amazing. We do not require you to do lab work and everything like that. Yeah. But sometimes clients just want to track that on their own and see how their health markers improve. So that's such a fantastic thing that we have seen from several clients.
And we've had physicians say, what did you do? You know, and become interested in the program. It's, you know, a very low calorie diet, rapid weight loss can help a person get to this point a lot more quickly. Like imagine if you had 30 pounds you wanted to lose, or 40 pounds or 50 pounds. You could spend a year doing that. Or you could get there. Well, I won't say 40 pounds because that's not the norm, but you could get there in 3 months instead of taking a year to get there, and see all these improvements in your quality of life and your health markers.
Yeah. So real quick, Jeannie in the comments, she said, as a client of your program, I can attest that they are all false, talking about the false markers in the previous slide. She was never hungry and even gained a little muscle while following all of your advice. You have an amazing program that has so much knowledge that is passed along to all clients. So thank you so much for that, Jeannie. That's amazing.
Really appreciate it. Thank you. Because those kind of testimonials are so powerful. You know, I tend to get a little into the weeds with the research, but when somebody says that, who has done the program, I mean, that just nails it.
Yeah.
Okay. So again, further to this idea that rapid weight loss is going to destroy your metabolism, we will say, like, your metabolic rate can drop by as much as 15 to 20% on a very low calorie diet. These adaptations reverse when calories are reintroduced and maintenance is achieved. And so what's different about our program is people might have done the Simeon's protocol or a very low calorie diet. They lost weight on that diet phase. They had no idea what to do when it ended. We help clients reverse out of P2 through a phase that lasts usually about 4 weeks, sometimes longer, get them to as many calories as possible without regaining the weight they lost, and then set them free. Now, they can continue to work with us to maintain their weight, and we recommend they do so because they're still have these habits which are wet cement. They're still stabilizing at their new weight. And let's face it, lots of people know how to diet. They don't know how to keep it off. So you have the option to continue working with us to lose more weight or maintain your weight loss after.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say is that, yeah, weight loss itself, whenever you stop and think about the long-term of thing, weight loss is the easy part. But once you lose the weight, how do you keep it off? That might be where more people need more support. So this program kind of does both of those. It's fantastic. So
I will say, like, you might look at that and go, oh my goodness, my metabolic rate can drop 15 to 20%. Look, your metabolic rate will drop on any diet due to adaptations that take place. These are hormonal. A very low calorie diet can drop your testosterone and thyroid and stuff more than a diet with a small calorie deficit, but you're in it for a shorter period of time and you can get back to maintenance more quickly. So again, those adaptations are reversed, and we will work with you to reverse those adaptations after the diet ends. Now, you are going to be a smaller person after you diet. Let's face it, if you lose 20, 30, 40 pounds, you're a smaller person. Your calorie needs now are smaller. If you ate like you used to eat, you're going to regain the weight.
Yeah.
But as proof, like, that you don't destroy your metabolism, I want to talk about something called the Minnesota starvation experiment. Has anyone heard about this experiment? It was
I'm sure that a few of them have.
Yeah, because we talk about it in the Transformer program, because a lot of people are under the belief that, you know, this dieting is going to kind of destroy your metabolism, or you can put yourself in starvation mode and not lose any more weight, which is also a myth.
Yeah.
But the Minnesota starvation experiment was created to help people in Europe who were starving after World War II. And it was to help them get healthy again. You can't give somebody who's been starving a bunch of food without causing some really bad effects on their health. And they wanted to observe what happens when people are in a deep calorie deficit, near starving. So they had 36 volunteers. These people were selected because they were psychologically and physically healthy men. They had them march 22 miles a week and do hard manual labor to simulate prisoner of war situations. Go ahead and Google the Minnesota starvation experiment and look at some photos of these men, because they look like POWs when they were done with them. They basically have their calories for 6 months, and they force them to do manual labor while they volunteered for that. Imagine that for a moment. If currently you need to eat 2,000 calories or 1,500 calories a day just to maintain your weight, imagine cutting that in half. And now you can only eat 1,000 or 750 calories a day, and you have to do hard physical labor.
Mhm.
And this went on for 6 months. Well, they never stopped losing weight. Okay, so that's a myth that you can plateau because of starvation mode. They continued to lose weight. They just started losing more slowly, and they started to get edema as they got very thin, and that's water retention. They actually lost 25% of their original weight on average. So a man that was 200 pounds became 150 pounds. So Google those photos. You'll see how emaciated they are. Now, their resting metabolic rate went down 20%. So that's what we talked about. Your metabolic rate can drop. But get this, they gave them a recovery diet, kind of like we do. We reverse diet our clients. And after 12 weeks, their metabolic rate was only down by 10%. Okay, that's about 150 calories after 12 weeks. And after that, it was restored in some people. For some people, it took 6 months to a year to fully recover. But we're talking about 6 months of very hard dieting and doing hard labor. Okay, so there was no evidence that long-term lingering metabolic damage had occurred in these people. Everything went back to normal.
Yeah. It's crazy to think about how harsh their conditions were as well, because everything was controlled for these people. They had no choice but to adhere to this program, and they were forced to do exercise and movement when they did not want to.
It's pretty rough, much rougher than our program.
Yeah.
And there was no lingering metabolic damage.
Don't worry, guys. We're not trying to do the Minnesota starvation experiment with you. That's not the goal here. If you ever get to that point, please reach out so we can make some adjustments. Okay.
We want you to feel good.
Yes, not miserable.
Another one is you're going to lose tons of muscle. This is untrue. In fact, if your body fat levels are high, fat tissue is very protective of muscle loss. And I'm going to share the data on that shortly. For women, we're talking about 30% body fat levels. For men, this is about 22%. And what we find is some clients even gain muscle eating less than 1,000 calories a day. Yeah. Why do we care about muscle? Why do we care about muscle? It's important for your health. It's important for your metabolism and even your bone density.
Not to mention, I know that you guys have seen the people that are very, very thin, but they kind of look sick. They don't look healthy. That's what we would. Yeah. And that's where we get the term skinny fat. A lot of times when you're specifically trying to lose body weight, you're trying to lose body fat so that you can have that more toned definition. And by keeping your muscle mass, you're more likely to adhere or have that toned definition that you're looking for, that overall fit look for your body composition, versus if you were to lose a lot of protein or a lot of muscle mass and not a lot of fat, then you're going to fall more into that sickly and weird looking shape, even if you are super thin category. So
your calories give you your size. Your exercise gives you your shape. That's the bottom line.
Yeah.
And how you live your life. This is from Mike Dilla. How you live your life, the kind of healthy habits that you have really determines how much vitality you have.
Yes, what she said.
Another myth is you're not going to change your habits if you go on a crash diet. Actually, that's what happens. There's some truth to that. If you do a crash diet without changing your routine and your habits while dieting, and you continue to keep up those routines and those unhealthy habits, your choice of regain is high. And this, a lot of people diet differently than they do real life. So when we coach clients, we try to integrate daily habit change so they master new habits before they finish the diet. Okay, so it's not like you go into a cave, diet, come out, okay, what now? No, we're making daily changes to your lifestyle, to your habits. This is a very comprehensive program so that when you are done the diet phase, you just keep going with those new behaviors. This is so you can continue to succeed at real life and maintaining your weight loss in the long run. keep in mind, the same behaviors that make you successful at losing can also make you successful at keeping it off. It's not all about what's on your plate, okay? I recommend that you think about forming a new identity. We talk about mindset a lot in the program. You want to adopt the mindset of the person that you want to become. Ethan Suplee, he lost 300 pounds. You can look him up. He talks about this. He talks about, quote, killing his clone. His clone is his old identity. You can't become a new person while dragging old habits and behaviors behind you.
I love that. You can't become a new person while dragging the old habits and behaviors behind you. I think that's a very powerful statement.
Yeah. Thank you. So another myth is the results won't last. You're going to regain the weight. And maybe you heard this, like 80 or 90 or 95% of people who do a diet will regain the weight they lost. That's actually not accurate. The reality is, at least with some very low calorie research done with very low calorie diets, you can have a 30 to 70% success rate with some very low calorie diets if they include behavior change, which is what we focus on as well. So maybe you have dieted before and regained the weight, but were you working on your habits? Were you changing behaviors? It's, again, not just about what's on your plate and what you're eating. And when I say 30 to 70%, we're going to talk about that research specifically later. But basically, people were able to keep some or all of the weight off after 2 or 3 years. It is individual, right? Research indicates that a very low-calorie diet can be equally effective as a slower approach to weight loss, and lasting results are possible, but not without changing some of your mindset and some of your behaviors. Okay, so let's share our client results here. Okay, so let's talk about sleep. We had clients, as coaches, we want to know that people are sleeping well, okay, because sleep is so fundamental to good health, mood, mindset, getting better results. The average for all the cohorts in 2022 was 3.7 out of 5. Now, there's always going to be some people who are on the high end, there are 5 out of 5, and some people who are on the low end, okay? But the average was 3.7. And factors that can influence sleep are not just diet. They can be stress, they can be bedtime routines, shift work, which can really disrupt your sleep cycles, hormones, and diet, and exercise. I always sleep better when I exercise. So for the non-exercisers, you might do better by exercising or going for a walk every day. But keep in mind, like, I'm pretty happy with 3.7. These women, almost all of them are going through menopause. The average age of our client is a woman in her 50s, which means sleep is typically disrupted due to drops in estrogen. And a drop in carbohydrates can also affect a person's sleep. And as you can see, sleep was the worst in week 1 and week 2. Why do you think that is?
Well, I can tell you my opinion.
Yeah, tell it.
My opinion is because you are adapting to a new way of eating. You're drastically reducing your calories basically overnight, and your body has to adapt to that. And there's going to be some of that initial hunger that might be affecting your sleep, some of the sleep disruptions because of not having enough carbs. And one of the things that you might be doing because you are hungry, or maybe you're taking in more fluid intake, and the fluid is possibly waking you up at night to use the bathroom as well. So those are some of the things. And then we can also get into the hormonal aspect of it as well. There's all kinds of hormonal adjustments happening at the same time. But as your body gets accustomed to the lower carb intake and you get more on that schedule, you have learned and adapted what works for you, your nutritional preferences, your meal timing, things like that, then your body kind of starts to stabilize and you're like, okay, well, now that my body's stabilizing, I feel like my sleep is improving a little bit.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. The other thing is, lesson 2 of the Transformer program is sleep and the weight loss connection. And we give people tips to improve their sleep. And look at that, week 3, it's improving too. So I think people are starting to implement some of these habits that they learn and these tips, and such as creating a bedtime schedule, different things like that. But the water point is really good because people start drinking more water right from week 1, and that can get them up in the middle of the night, which is why we recommend front loading most of your water and tapering it in the evening. Okay, so energy. We had clients rate their energy from a 1 to 5, and that program average was 3.8. Energy improved over time as people adjusted to the very low calorie diet and lost weight. And you can see it actually kind of peaked around week 9 for most people. Let's face it, by then, most people had lost about 20 pounds. Carrying around an extra 20 pounds every day is hard work. It's draining. And so I can see why energy increased. Hunger. This was a really surprising outcome. The program average was 3.9. So it's from 1 to 5, you guys. So 1 was starving, 5 is hardly ever hungry. I should have mentioned all of these are on 5. So if I go back here, sleep was 1 is a horrible sleep, 5 is a great sleep, and the average was 3.7. Energy, 1 was zombie, 5 is energizer bunny, and the average was 3.8. So sleep, 1 is starving, 5 is hardly ever hungry. Like people report having to force themselves to eat. The average was 3.9. Now you might be like, forcing yourself to eat on 800 and 1,000 calories, that never happens. Actually, it's amazing what can happen when you eat a high protein, very low calorie diet. It's like it turns down some of the hunger signals. And this is not due to the HCG. We've had clients do this without HCG, and the hunger levels are the same. So it really comes down to the diet itself. It seems like I said, there's some kind of a hunger shutoff or dampening of hunger signals when calories are dropped and high amounts of protein are eaten. We actually had to coax people to eat more food. There was a 98.6% compliance to the diet. So that means that if it were 100%, people followed their plan exactly. People underate slightly, but very, very, very slightly. I'd say it was like nearly perfectly compliant on average. Okay, any points you want to make about that, Tiffany?
I think that it's also, I think that you hit the nail on the head with the protein portion, because a lot of our clients are going from very minimal protein, and we're asking them to maybe even double or triple their protein intake. And it can be very, very challenging to do that at first, but the benefits are amazing. The way that you feel on a higher protein diet, the health benefits that you get from it. And a lot of the times, whenever you increase your protein intake, some of the natural cravings that you have tend to go down because you're just so full that you're not craving the things that you used to crave.
Yeah. And you notice week 1, they were the hungriest. I do believe that's because they're going into ketosis, they're adjusting, but a lot of people don't hit their protein goals for the first 2 weeks. So is there a correlation there, Compliance to macros. All right, this here, again, 98.6% of people, that was the average for compliance. So people did a great job of complying. The weeks that they tended to overeat a little was week 1 and week 11 of the program. So most clients consumed close to their recommended macro goals. Now, is it possible some clients were not tracking accurately? Yes, and reporting, but we can't control that. And I would say also, when you're doing macro tracking, the food in the day, like food labels can be off by up to 20%, under or over. So if your food label says this serving is 100 calories, it might actually be 80, it might be 120. That's no reason not to track, because over the course of 3 months, it's all going to even out, because some days will be higher, some days will be lower. You just keep on chugging. But week 1, hardest adjustment period. I'm not surprised people overate a little bit there. Week 11, slight overeating, possibly due to diet fatigue. I mean, they've been dieting for a while. The other thing is calories are reintroduced towards the end of the program. So people were trying food they hadn't eaten in a while. Hunger and cravings may have increased, certainly not everyone. Often we have to coax them to keep eating more as we bring calories up. But clients were learning to moderate their intake and adjust their macros on the fly.
I think it's kind of cool, though, if you look at week 12, you can see that their goal is up, but their calories or actual intake was not up as high. And I think that's because they're generally in the reverse diet process at this point. And it can be scary increasing your calories. And it goes back to the satiety that we talked about earlier, with people having to force themselves to eat to hit their goals because their habits have changed and the way that they're eating has changed at this point. And it can be difficult to hit those calorie goals without adding in some sweets and treats at this point as well. So it's all about finding that programming that works for you specifically in that point too.
Mm-hmm. So also week 12 was around Christmas, so more exposure to things, or week 11. Week 12, it looks like people were back to under eating a little bit.
Well, this is for, all the programs.
Oh, yeah,
right?
This is for all the programs. Yeah.
So it wouldn't always be near Christmas, but for this last round that we just finished, absolutely.
Yeah. And just one cohort can sort of skew numbers a little bit, but regardless, compliance was amazing. Like it was amazing. So how much weight can you expect to lose? Our client results were 95% of people lost over 10 pounds. The average was 20.68 pounds lost. Okay, that's the average. This is equal to almost 11% in percentage of starting body weight for the average client. So they lost almost 11% of their body weight, 10.87% is to be exact. Now, according to obesity experts, a 10% body weight loss is going to result in better blood pressure, improved heart health, improved cholesterol levels, a decreased risk for diabetes, a better night's sleep if you have sleep apnea, and a decreased risk for many types of cancer, as well as more energy. So losing 10% of your body weight is very meaningful. And actually, even losing 5% of your body weight can also help those scores, but 10% usually shows a significant change in lab work. And so if you looked at this graph, and if you're on your mobile, you can't, unfortunately, the screen will be too small, so you could watch this on YouTube later if you want, or make it full screen on your desktop. But if you look at this graph, 90% of our clients who finished the program lost 10 to 35 pounds. That's pretty darn good. The rest lost more or less. So why do people sometimes lose less weight? There's lots of reasons. And why do some people lose more weight? Like we had a couple clients lose more than 40 pounds. Well, these are your outliers, and they exist in any research group. And what can happen is somebody gets sick, someone gets injured, someone needs to go into surgery. There is a loss in the family, a job loss, they're moving state. They can't be as compliant with the diet. High levels of stress, a lack of sleep. So they're under eating or they're overeating. So, not everyone is going to adhere perfectly to a diet. And that's what we're here for. Because we always tell people like one salad doesn't make you skinny and one donut doesn't make you fat. We don't think anyone is going to do this diet perfectly. We don't expect that of ourselves or our clients. The thing is to get back on track.
Mm-hmm. And also, it's unrealistic to expect to always be on. It's unrealistic to expect to never have temptations and never give in to those temptations. It's just, I think that whenever you feel like you're a failure, anytime you give into those temptations, you're less likely to want to get back on track because you feel like I've already messed everything up. Whenever you kind of embrace, I am human. In this moment, I really wanted that, so I had it. You're more likely to say, I'm owning this decision, and now I'm going to just move forward.
Yeah, it's the mindset of a champion, right? And that's why we say weight loss happens from the inside out. You have to embrace this never give up mentality. And if you identify, because something didn't work out and you feel like a loser, doesn't mean you are a loser. You have to let go of that kind of that voice in your head that really doesn't want you to succeed.
Mm-hmm. And I think that a lot of people come into the program with I want to lose X amount of pounds by X date. And they feel really frustrated and defeated when they don't meet that specific goal. However, whenever we stop and we say, look at what you did, look at how far you came, look at the habits, look at the behaviors, look at the mindset shifts that have happened. You have not reached your goal yet, but you have the tools, the techniques, and the foundation so that you can continue to work towards that goal. Maybe it takes a little bit longer, but that's okay, because as long as you stay consistent, that's so much better than trying to rush it and then saying, well, I didn't make my goal, so I'm just going to stop here and go back to old habits, right?
Right.
It's all about changing how you perceive it.
Mm-hmm. And we really try to get people to think about the non-scale victories, such as, I'm shopping my closet. There's like 50% of the clothes I couldn't wear, I can now wear, that kind of thing. Okay, let's talk about how rapid weight loss affects muscle mass, because this was the genesis of everything. Looking at our clients, the group average for muscle loss, remember, the weight loss on average was almost 21 pounds. The group average for muscle mass loss was 1.85 pounds. So that's less than 10% of the weight that they lost came from muscle tissue. Any questions about this before I go ahead? So this is phenomenal, because any diet that you do, it doesn't matter if it's rapid weight loss or one of the big brand diets, anytime you lose weight, you're going to pull from muscle tissue as well as fat tissue for the majority of people. And what we try to do in our program is we've created a protocol that will minimize muscle loss and maximize fat loss. And that's what we all want, right? You don't want to lose 10 pounds and half of it is going to be muscle mass. You want to lose 10 pounds and maybe 9 of it is fat and 1 pound is muscle mass. So looking at the data here, on average, less than 10% of the weight people lost was muscle mass. The rest, like 90% plus, was fat tissue, which is phenomenal. We really want you to care about this. A lot of people don't. I certainly did when I started dieting. I was all about getting to a certain number on the scale. Didn't care what kind of tissue that was. But it's really important to hold on to your muscle mass. It gives you your shape, your bone density, your strength, your independence of movement. So important for your health and your metabolism. People with more muscle burn more calories at rest. You have a question?
No question, but I just wanted to say that I think that having a goal weight is a fantastic starting point. But I also think that just because you have a goal weight, we don't have to be stuck with that goal weight. Maybe you get to that goal weight and you're like, wow, I'm a lot leaner than I thought I would be, and I'm 5 pounds heavier. There's nothing wrong with that. Maybe you get to that goal weight and you're like, wow, I really do want to get a little bit leaner. So what are my options at this point, right? So those are definitely things we could talk about. There's recomp. There's, taking a maintenance break and then going back into another dieting round. The number is just a target. It doesn't mean that once you get there, you're going to be happy with it. Or once you get close to it, it may change completely and be like, I don't need to be that lean after all. There's nothing wrong with that. So challenging ourselves to be open-minded with that number on the scale and really looking at the body composition, really looking at those progress photos, looking at those measurements, that can be a lot more beneficial, comparing all of that data together versus just looking at that one data point.
Yeah, we certainly had people who maybe they set the bar a little low and they're like, actually, I want to lose more weight. And just like you said, and then we've had people who thought they could lose more weight and they couldn't. And they're like, but I'm actually pretty happy with my journey so far. It varies. And nothing is set in stone. You can decide as you go. So I do want to mention, like, some people did lose muscle, a fairly significant amount. They're in red below on this chart. The 5 clients who lost the most muscle, we're always asking why. What was different about these people that they lost more muscle? And there was a common theme. They ran and they didn't strength train. And we always warn people about running while on a very low calorie diet. One, it can spike hunger. If it doesn't spike hunger, though, it's probably going to make you lose more muscle mass. Strength training will preserve muscle mass, even help you build more muscle mass. The running is going to help you lose muscle mass. And so those people lost more muscle mass. So the other thing is 3 of those 5 people were already of lower body fat levels, and 1 was actually quite lean. And so when you're leaner, remember, body fat levels are very protective of muscle loss. When you're leaner, you will lose proportionally more muscle mass with every pound loss. Okay. Now, we had a bunch of people that gained muscle on a very low calorie diet. So then we're like, well, what's different about these people? So I'm going to share that with you next. 11 of the 49 research clients were able to gain or maintain muscle, even with the very low calorie diet. So this is eating about 800 to 1,000 calories a day. So 22% of clients were able to maintain or gain their muscle. Now, 10 belonged to a group with higher body fat levels. So they had more than 50% body fat. One belonged to another group which had 41 to 49% body fat. And the other group was 32 to 40% body fat, and we kept categorizing them based on different levels of body fat and leanness. And so what we can confidently say is that the higher your body fat levels, the more likely you are to preserve or gain muscle. So for people who are really afraid of you maybe doing a very low calorie diet, need not worry if you are obese. It's as simple as that. Your chances of losing muscle are much lower than somebody who's already lean. And we're going to talk a bit more about that.
Well, and I want to point out right now as well is some people may be saying, well, how do you know what my body fat percentage is? So for the clients that do agree to be a part of our research group, we do send out a digital scale, and that scale gives us the body fat, all the data that we use for this. So it'll tell you your body fat percentage, it'll tell you your muscle mass, it'll even tell you your metabolic age, which we really don't care about that, but fun fact, I guess. So that is where we're getting our data from for this. So it is very consistent data across the board. It's not just saying, well, my doctor says I'm about this, I'm about here. We do use a set guideline or a set tool to make things as consistent as possible.
Yeah, everyone gets shipped the same body composition scale. So we have the same diagnostic tool for everybody. So again, the higher your starting body fat levels are, the more likely you are to preserve or even gain muscle on a very low calorie diet. And we actually did a Pearson correlation test to this connection of beginning body fat levels and muscle loss or gain. And a result of 0.5 to 1 indicates a strong positive correlation, and a negative result indicates a strong negative correlation. We had a strong positive correlation on this. It was 0.88. So again, this suggests that those with high body fat levels to begin with are more likely to preserve or even gain muscle mass. So some of you might have heard HCG preserves muscle, taking real HCG. This is not our opinion at this time. What preserves muscle is your starting body fat levels. So it's not the HCG hormones itself. Now, leaner individuals who don't have as much body fat, again, they are more likely to lose some muscle on a very low calorie diet. And so there are some things we do to mitigate this. High protein, daily walking. We recommend strength training, though it's optional. Those can play a crucial role in muscle preservation during a diet. So this question, is it true that you'll regain all the weight? There is some research on this. One of them is by Holden et al. And basically they found that long-term follow-up of patients attending a combination very low calorie diet and behavior therapy at the same time had a pretty good outcome. As an example, they had these patients on a very low calorie diet. They followed up with 118 of them 3.3 years after the very low calorie diet, and they gave them a questionnaire. And the questionnaire said, what's your weight now? Are you exercising, eating? What are your work and sleep habits like? Emotional factors. And the current use, were they still using some of the behavior techniques taught in the program? Well, get this. 75% of the subjects showed only a 37.5% weight regain of the weight they'd lost. So 75% of these people regained some weight, but they kept the majority of it off. 63% of the weight was kept off on average. And those people who were better at keeping the weight off, like most of the weight off, they reported exercising more, eating fewer high-fat foods, and using more of the behavioral modification techniques that were taught in the program. And then there is another study here by Sarah. She can look it up. We don't have lots of time to go into it, but they talk about very low calorie diets and sustained weight loss in it. So another question is it true that a low calorie diet won't change your habits? No, there's a couple of research papers on this. Those who maintain successful control of eating behavior and stress coping mechanisms have a higher probability of successful weight reduction after 3 years. Exercise is a huge thing. In one cohort, they had people, they said, just walk enough every week that you'll burn 1,000 calories. And in a 2-year follow-up, 9 participants had lost weight or did not even, so they lost more weight, or they didn't even gain more than 1 kilo, which is 2.2 pounds. 2 participants did gain more than 20 kilograms. But the majority of people were able to keep the weight off or lose more weight just through walking, which is something we really encourage our clients to do.
I think that it's important to note here that if you do a very low calorie diet on your own without support, then sometimes the focus is only losing the weight and not changing the habits. But in our program, we focus on that habit loop, as we have talked about already. So really getting those habits under control while you're dieting versus waiting until the diet is over to make those changes is a key component there as well.
Yeah, agreed. Simultaneous. So in this study, I don't know how to pronounce his name, Pekarinen, basically 71% of patients kept some or all of the weight off after 2 years. So again, another great study. After 2 years, 32% of the patients had a weight loss of more than 10% of their body weight from the initial starting period. So after 2 years, they kept off more than 10% of their body weight. 39% of their patients regained some, but they were able to keep off 0 to 10% of their starting weight. 21% of patients weighed more than before their therapy, so poor results for them. So it's not perfect, but I can't think of a single diet out there where some people don't regain the weight they lost. But still exciting because 71% of patients had kept off some or all of their weight after 2 years. So this kind of blows that stat where if you do a crash diet, you're guaranteed to gain all the weight back. Untrue. When you are implementing some behavior modification at the same time, your chance of success goes way up. And this is a quote from the paper. A very low-calorie diet combined with behavior modification is a useful mode of therapy for obesity with low dropout rates, which is also important because a lot of people drop out of a diet after a few weeks. And the majority of patients, 71% of them, were below pre-treatment weight at the 2-year control. Also noted, 1/3 of the patients, they succeeded in making positive changes in scores measuring eating behaviors, which were associated with sustained weight loss. So they kept up some of those healthy habits. So is it true that a low-calorie diet leads to binge eating? No. As you can see from our data, most clients had to be coaxed to eat a little more. And there are a few exceptions of people who went off the diet and back on due to holidays, social events, personal tragedies, things like that, but maybe illness. But no outright binges come to mind for me. How about you, Tiffany?
No actual binges. And I mean, it's possible that they don't report binges if they do have them. But I think that it's really important to note that just because you binge from time to time or you overeat from time to time does not make it disordered way of eating. Sometimes it's just a natural thing in life. We have a high emotion response to something and we end up eating more than we expected to. That doesn't necessarily mean that you're in a binge cycle. So I think that that's really important to point out as well.
And we always preach this idea that you have unconditional permission to eat anything you want or take a day off of dieting. You're in control of everything that you eat. You're the driver, we're the co-pilot. But we want to encourage you to reframe things. So like, instead of saying things like, I can't have that, it's not on my diet, reframe that mindset and say, I'm not going to eat this right now because I'm choosing to lose weight. Mm-hmm. And don't beat yourself up if you do choose to have that give into a craving or whatever it is. Your
Yeah.
perception of restriction really dictates its impact on you. And that's a quote from Martin McDonald.
Yeah, and I think that it's really important to note as well that if you're having a craving for something and it's a true craving and you feel like if I don't eat this, my life is just gonna dissolve around you, then there are ways to fit those foods into your diet even when you are dieting. And if you need help with that, that's what we're here for. We're here to help you plan for those specific events that could happen. I had a client just say something, what if I just want a piece of bread? Well, have a piece of bread. Let's move other things around. If it's really that important for you to have that bread, make it a priority. Plan your day around that piece of bread. It might sound really, really silly. You're like, why are you planning your day around a piece of bread? Because it's something that you really want and it's something that's very meaningful to you. And there's no reason to not have the foods that you enjoy having as long as it fits in with your current goals. Whenever you make sure that you prioritize the food that you really enjoy, while sticking to your goals, you're actually going to have better program adherence in the long term.
I agree. Now, some people listening to that might say, planning your day around a piece of bread, you're just making people have a disordered mindset around food. Look, dieting is different. Dieting involves some sacrifice, restraint, prioritizing an outcome. You know, you cannot diet without being in a calorie deficit. So you have to think about where those calories are coming from.
Yeah. And I mean, when I did my own dieting journey, I programmed in ice cream. Like knowing that I had that ice cream waiting for me at the end of the day meant that every decision that I made earlier in the day leading up to that ice cream kept me on track and in alignment with my goals because I wanted to reach my goals, my long-term goals, but I also wanted that daily treat. And it was very empowering to know that I could still reach my long-term goals while having that daily treat that helped me in my mental health in the long run as well.
Yeah, for your health and for maintaining your weight, like we say, eat whatever you want. You just can't have it in all the amounts you might want.
Yep.
There's no off-limits foods with us. We don't believe in bad foods.
Yeah.
Okay, so is it true that a low-calorie diet leads to binge eating? People often use the term I binged to mean overeating. And when we actually look, all they did was maybe eat an extra few hundred calories.
Yeah.
Binge eating disorder really requires at least 3 out of 5 criteria be met. Okay, so it's characterized by both of the following. You're eating in a short period of time, like within a 1 or 2 hour period, an amount of food that's definitely larger than most people would eat in a similar period of time under a similar circumstance. And it's attended by a lack of control, like a feeling of a lack of control during the episode, the feeling that you can't stop eating or control how much one is eating. The criteria are, and remember, you have to meet 3 out of 5. So maybe someone listening to this might be like, oh, I might actually have a binge eating disorder. And if so, I hope this talk has helped you sort that out. You should seek help. But the criteria are eating much more rapidly than normal, eating until feeling uncomfortably full, eating large amounts of food when not physically hungry, eating alone because of being embarrassed by how much one is eating, feeling disgusted with oneself, depressed, or very guilty after overeating. And the binge eating has to occur with frequency. So at least 2 days a week for 6 months, according to the DSM, or at least 1 day a week for 3 months. And there are severities to it. A binge eating disorder is graded as follows. Mild is you have 1 to 3 of these binges episodes a week. Moderate is 4 to 7 binge eating episodes a week with those criteria. Severe is 8 to 13 episodes a week, and extreme is 14 or more episodes per week. Okay? That's binge eating. It's not the same as overeating. Also, what can happen after binge eating episode and something we keep an eye out for as coaches, because we remind people lapses are normal. But what can happen for some people is they binge eat and then they try to compensate. They over-exercise, they go for a long run, they purge, they fast, they might use laxatives.
Oh, here's one.
What?
Here's one. Steak and apple days.
Yes.
Yes. We don't do those, guys.
Yeah, we don't do steak and apple days because we think it encourages this type of a compensatory behavior. and it's not healthy mentally or physically. So I'm just going to take a sip of water. Oh my goodness, we're coming up 1 hour.
That's all right. We still have quite a few people on here watching. So thanks for sticking with us, guys. You guys rock. I know this is a bit on the long side. Hopefully you're finding this information to be very helpful. And again, if you have any questions, let us know, okay?
I really appreciate you hanging in there. I always worry when these get long, two people are gonna tune out. So I hope you're finding it interesting. If you are, please comment. It means Facebook will actually show this video to other people in this group, because Facebook only shows about 10 to 20% of the content we post. It will share things that seem popular or are getting comments. So the more comments, likes, loves, the more this will get seen and possibly help others. So is it true a low-calorie diet leads to binging? This is the last slide on binge eating. In some research, they say a very low-calorie diet can suppress binge eating, hunger, and food impulsivity. What is disinhibition? It's a lack of restraint, okay? And that occurs around binge eating. And there was a study done to investigate changes in weight during a 2-year period from the start of a very low-calorie diet in conjunction with behavior modification therapy for obesity. And they had these subjects do a 17-week weight loss program, so about 4 months. And they did 1 year and 2 year follow-up visits. And they had 62 healthy overweight subjects without a history of previous eating disorders. So the idea is, can a very low-calorie diet lead to an eating disorder? They tested them. They used several criteria, including a binge eating scale, a bulimic investigatory test, and a 3-factor eating questionnaire before and after therapy, and at the 1 and 2 year control visits. And the conclusions were, it did not lead to binge eating. They also concluded that a very low-calorie diet combined with behavior modification is a useful mode of therapy for obesity, and there are low dropout rates. So much for the idea that diets don't work, and the faster it comes off, the faster it comes back on, and diets lead to binge eating and eating disorders. Untrue. Any questions about that? Does age affect weight loss results? I love Joan for this, because she did this on her own initiative. She wanted to see if being older meant your weight loss was slower. Something I would have assumed, because after the age of 60, your metabolism does slow. It doesn't slow before then, contrary to what people think. She did a Pearson correlation test to look at the connection of age and the resulting weight loss, and a result of 0.5 to 1 indicates a strong positive correlation, and a negative result is a strong negative correlation. And we had a negative result of minus 0.1, which suggests there's no correlation to age when it comes to weight loss, meaning age does not determine how much weight you can lose or if you can lose weight. And we have had clients in their 70s work with us in the Transformer program. So our protocol versus Simeon's. We are almost done this, guys. Thanks for hanging in there, because I'm sure some of you want to know how it differs. Our approach differs. And if you don't want to know what Simeon's is and you've never heard of HCG, totally fine. But this program began coaching people who had done multiple rounds of HCG and only to regain the weight. And so our initial clients were all people who wanted to do the HCG diet with our protocol. Now we let people into the program without HCG, and the results are the same. Okay, so you do not need to do HCG to do the Transformer program. So what are the differences? Simeon's protocol was created in the 50s. It's a 500 calorie, very low calorie diet, and people take it in combination with HCG injections. That's the traditional method. We're going to compare Simeon's versus our program. So protein. In the Simeon's protocol, you are given 50 grams of protein. These are protein macros a day, regardless of your body weight, size, gender, etc. In the Transformer program, your macros are customized to you based on your target body weight. And the majority, like almost everyone, has over 100 grams of protein a day. Smaller people might get 95 or 100 grams, but they're rare. The diet itself in the Simeon's protocol, if you've done it, it's hard. You get maybe 20 foods you can eat. That's it. With us, we have a macro-based approach and there are no off-limits foods. And I know this blows people's mind that they can like still eat an English muffin and lose weight. Yes. Okay. I know someone in this group can attest to that. I won't name names. Exercise recommendations in the Simeon's protocol, walking only. In the Transformer program, we like to meet clients where they're at, but then help them get a little further. So we say walk. We try to walk at least 30 minutes a day. Now, if you can only walk 5 minutes, that's okay. We just want you to get into a consistent habit of daily walking. We recommend strength training, and we provide a video home workout you can do for months 1, 2, and 3. Or you can do your own gym workout if you already strength train. We fully support strength training. Other activities as desired. It's recommended that you reduce the volume, meaning the duration and the intensity of your work, like any cardio workouts or high intensity workouts like CrossFit. This is to preserve muscle, because in our experience, the people who do those high intensity activities tend to lose more muscle. So we'd rather you do lower impact and strength training. Now, if you still really want to do CrossFit, you can, but you might want to go from like 5 days a week to 3 days a week kind of thing. Plus,
Or you might want to, yeah, I was going to say, or you might want to follow a higher protocol. That's something that we can do for you as well. Just keep in mind that that may skew how rapid your results are.
Yeah, exactly. Like someone has already contacted me because she plans to downhill ski during the Transformer program for 2 to 4 hours a day. We're going to give her more calories because she won't be able to do that sport without more calories. You need fuel in the tank, but it could potentially impact the rate of loss. So the duration is different. In the Simeon's protocol, you could only be on it for 26 to 40 days, the diet phase. With us, normally, I'd say 26 to 60 days, and you can do it without HCG. After the diet phase is a phase called P3. That's where you are off the diet and you're kind of transitioning to real life. There really wasn't many directions in the Simeon's protocol for that, except you can eat what you want, just as much as you want, just no starches or sugars. With us, we have a phased-in approach of calorie reintroduction over several weeks, and you can eat whatever you want, including starches and sugars, if it fits your macros. And we reverse diet our clients. So, like I said, about 4 weeks for most people. So if you were at 1,000 calories, for example, you might go to 1,250, 1,500, 1,750, 2,000, that kind of thing. The goal is to help you maintain your weight loss without weight regain and maximizing your calorie intake. So those metabolic adaptations we talked about at the beginning of this presentation can reverse. When you are dieting, like I said, your thyroid goes down, ghrelin goes up, leptin goes down, testosterone goes down. We want those things to reverse, and that only happens when you eat more calories. Okay, again, the diet phase with Simeon's, actually the phases are loading, which is 1 to 2 to 3 days, P2 in the Simeon's protocol with the small list of approved foods, and P3, no starches or sugars for 3 weeks. In the Transformer program, loading is optional. We have not found it makes a difference to weight loss, which might be mind-blowing to some of you. It certainly was to me. I really thought loading was essential for a good diet round. It's not. P2, eat anything you want. P3, eat anything you want, as long as you follow your macros. And then real life support, if you want it, to maintain your weight, as long as you want. We've had clients working with us for over a year now.
Mm-hmm. I think that it's important to note that some people might be saying, well, what do you mean loading's optional? How do you know that? Because we've tracked clients who have loaded and clients who have not loaded, and we compared the data, and there was no significant difference between the clients that loaded and did not load during the program. The weight loss was very similar. Program adherence was very similar. So
was similar.
Yeah.
The only benefit, I think, of loading is pretty much psychological. You gorge, and then you are so full and sick of all the sweets and whatever that you just can't wait to start dieting.
Yeah. You're like, let me get away from this for a little while, please.
So will rapid weight loss work for you? Here are the benefits in a nutshell. Early quick results increases motivation and adherence. And this is true of any diet, that as long as people get results in the first week or two, well, first week actually, their chances of adhering to the diet and staying in it long enough to get real results is much greater. One of the most demotivating things for people is when the weight loss is really slow or they're not getting any weight loss in the first couple of weeks. They tend to quit. Faster resolution of health issues, which we spoke about. So some of the metabolic dysfunction, the lipids improve, like all those improvements happen a lot faster when you lose weight quickly. Less time dieting and in a deficit, so you can get back to real life sooner. Maybe you like to train as well. Your training will be much better on higher calories as soon as you go to maintenance. And like I said, you can return to maintenance in real life sooner because your dieting is maybe 4 weeks to 12 weeks long, and you're done. You're in and you're out. And for some people, you're sprinters. You would rather just get it done, buckle down, get it done. A very low calorie diet works really well. So what are the benefits of slower weight loss? Because this is an option, and we use this approach in our New You program. It really depends on adherence. If you can't adhere to a very low calorie diet for whatever reason, you're better off with a slower approach. Also, lean individuals, like we said, are prone to losing more muscle mass on a very low calorie diet. So we would suggest that you do a slower approach with a minor calorie deficit and just be patient. It's better for training and athletic performance. I definitely feel a difference in my training when I have more fuel. And it's potentially a better method for chronic crash dieters. So if you have been doing the crash diet after crash diet after crash diet, you might want to just try something different, like smaller calorie deficit, being able to eat with more food freedom, being patient. But I will say that rapid weight loss can work really well when you have these short bursts of intense bursts of losing the weight and then taking a diet break and working on the skill of maintaining your weight loss for a period of time before you do another very low calorie diet. That phased approach can work really beautifully because, again, you're going to get a faster turnaround in health markers, like we mentioned, like apnea, even mild depression, better mood, better sleep, improved cholesterol. You'll get there faster. Then you can have a maintenance break, enjoy a little real life eating, and then go back, if you have more to lose, go back to another very low calorie diet. Anything you want to add there, Tiffany?
Yeah, I think that it's just really important to, whenever you're trying to decide whether or not you should do a slower approach or a rapid approach, to really ask yourself what you're willing to do to get the rapid results, right? Because it really is there. We do say that you can eat anything that you want. However, your calories are going to be very low. So some of the things that you really want to eat, you may not be able to fit into your calories. So while we're not saying, no, you can't have it, having that may cause more hunger in the long run. So say that you just really want a slice of cheesecake. One slice of cheesecake can be over your daily calories, and it's not going to leave you feeling full and satiated. So if you're someone who knows that you are going to want those during the program and not want to limit things like that, then a slower approach where you can fit that in from time to time may be better for you. But if you are someone who can really say, you know what, I'm in this, and dedicate yourself to it and really give the program time to work, and then the rapid fat loss is an amazing option, and it does give fantastic results. But you kind of just have to look at it as an experiment, look at it as a chance to challenge yourself and really dig a little bit deeper than maybe you have in the past. And then really learn how to create that balance between things that you do love that fit your macros and things that may not fit your macros. For example, something that I have done is I have made treats. Like I love what's it called? The coconut chocolate things, almond joys. Like I love an almond joy. So one day I really wanted almond joy, but I didn't want the calories from it. So I actually took some yogurt and I added like some coconut flavoring to it and I sprinkled chocolate on it. And it was high protein, lower in carbs, lower in fat than what it would have been if I would have actually had the candy bar. So it's all about finding those, like finding supplements, finding ways to switch things up and experimenting with recipes so that you feel satiated and satisfied and not over restricted. And then again, digging deep and just being honest with yourself on what you are able and willing to commit to a program.
Mm-hmm. So that's it. A little update about the Transformer program. We only run it 3 times a year. And when the doors are closed, they're closed. So if you want to apply, applying is free. Monday is the deadline, January 9th. So get your application in. And if we feel you're qualified to take the program, you'll be invited to a discussion with me on Monday afternoon. And you can ask me anything you want about the program. We actually, I don't know if you noticed, we don't have a button for you to just register and pay. We go through this whole process because we really want to be clear on what it takes to be successful at this program. Mm-hmm. And I just don't want to take anybody's money. There are people who are not qualified for this program. So fill out the application. If you have any questions or comments in the application, like I will read them. And if you qualify, we'll chat on Monday. You can decide if it's a good fit for you or not.
Mm-hmm. And I think
our next one will be in May if you feel like this isn't the right time for you. Mm-hmm. But just so you know, we don't start the program till January 19th. So the application is happening now and registrations will happen next week. And then the program itself starts January 19th and runs till April 19th. There is a week to prepare beforehand. So really get in your head that we're kind of starting January 12th, but the actual diet phase does not start until Monday, the 22nd. We want everybody to do it together. We polled all of our grads and asked people, is it better that people do it together? Or because we used to let people come in whenever, if they were already on P2, we let them in. And they said, yeah, it would be much better for everybody's success if they did it as a group. So with some exceptions, like if you're already on it, we can talk. If you're already on P2, we can talk. But honestly, we want to encourage you to wait and start with the group. You'll be better off if you wait. What were you going to say?
I was going to say, if you're on the fence on whether or not you think this program is a good fit for you, go ahead and fill in the form. Go ahead and sign up for the program. Again, there's no commitment. You don't get charged for deciding last minute, oh, I'm not going to join the program. So we just really want you to have all the information at your disposal before making this decision, because it is an investment. It's an investment in yourself. And we want to make sure that, again, like Adele said, we're not just taking your money if you're not able to actually follow the program, if you have certain criteria that would make you not a good candidate for it. And the enrollment process just helps make sure that everyone going to the program is set up for success from day one. And that kind of goes into starting P2 all together. After the program starts, we will all start on a Monday. And that's, again, because we want to be able to support you and we want to be able to help you know what to do leading up to P2, what we expect of you, and set those boundaries and set those expectations. And really, you get comfortable with emailing us and get comfortable with how the program works before you just dive right in.
Yeah, we won't give you your diet plan until the 20th, or 19th of January. So you can't even start our plan earlier. All right. Again, you don't need to use HCG. So for some of you, that might save you a few $100.
Yeah.
That's it. If you want to learn more about our programs and services like the New You program, go to adelefrizel.com, look at the menu. There's a programs and services tab, and it breaks down our products and our programs. So you can have a peruse. And then if you have any questions, email support@adelefrizel.com. We'd love to see you in the program if you feel like it's a fit for you. Let us know if you have any questions about the research. We're an open book. and we'll be monitoring the comments over the next several days. All right. Thanks, everybody.
Bye.
Bye-bye.